the cheeses that you make that don't turn out good. This is what's gonna happen because you're learning how to make cheese, and all cheeses are not perfect. Some are really good, some are just mediocre, and then you end up with some really bad ones that go to the pigs, but you know, we're not talking about those. But the ones that are mediocre, what ends up happening is that you have a lot of them. They're perfectly fine, but they're just not great. So here's what you do with them. You make American cheese. Let's go find some cheeses that are no good. What are you doing in here? You sneak in. This is Monterey Jack that was just a little bit blah. This pepper jack, add heat to our American cheese. And let's do this tacky parm. It has a weird texture. I am not a fan of American cheese. I don't ever buy it, but a lot of people in the United States rely on American cheese. It doesn't have any of that weird crap in that you get from the store. It tastes better than American cheese because it tastes like whatever cheese you made before, in the sense that if you made a Swiss, a Lancashire, a Colby, cheddar, those flavors then add depth to your American cheese. This pepper jack is just a little bit like grainy almost. The flavor is bland. I think it needs more salt, but the heat's nice. So all three of these cheeses are perfectly fine for eating as a family, but I would never put these on a cheese plate. I wouldn't give these away to anybody. They're not worthy of other people. So 400 grams of cheese. So I think traditionally American cheese comes from Colby. If you are not a cheesemaker, but you want to make your own American cheese, just buy cheap old Colby at the store and then make American cheese. One small step I do that you can do, but you don't have to, though it does make it a little bit easier, is if you put your cheese in a food processor and blitz it really well and break it up even more than what it was grated, because that will emulsify it faster. There you go, it's just nice and crumbly. To make American cheese, you add water and sodium citrate. That's sodium citrate. It's like a powder. It's 100% food grade. It's an emulsifier for melted cheese, so it keeps the oils and the fats from coming out, and it keeps it creamy and smooth. So this changes whatever cheese you have into that little bit of that gluey flavor. You know, I don't know how to describe it. You know what American cheese is. Almost rubbery or like plastic. People like that. This stuff is ancient. I think I bought it like years and years ago. Where does it say? That's by 12/4/16. This is like 7 years past expiration date. It works great. 15 grams of sodium citrate. So it's kind of like a little bit more than a tablespoon. And that's what it looks like. If you want to make your own sodium citrate, Gavin Weber shows how to do that on his YouTube channel. You take baking soda and citric acid with water. You mix it all together, bring it to a boil, and then you boil off the water, and what you're left with is that powder, that's sodium citrate. Easy stuff, but you can also just get it from Amazon and don't have to boil anything off. You know, I should probably taste it since I haven't tasted it. Tastes like baking soda. That's acidic, whatever. Half cup water. Crank on the heat. 15 grams of sodium citrate. Boop, boop, boop. I also think I could use milk instead of water. I should probably test that. It'd probably be better with milk, maybe next time. So I'm going to add the cheese. Now, watch the magic happen. Ooh. Besides me burning myself and splashing myself all over. Turn the heat on to low so I won't burn it. And see, you can see around the edges how it's starting to melt and get really creamy. So you just keep nursing it along a little bit and it will get creamier as it goes. Now at this point I can either add a couple drops of annatto if I want a yellower American cheese, or I can add salt, other spices. It's creamifying. It's still a little lumpy. I think we're just about there. Yeah, look at that. I'm gonna taste it for salt levels. It's pretty salty, but the Monterey Jack wasn't very well salted, and either was the pepper jack. So I'm just putting a little bit more in. Yeah, that's good enough. So before, I've always poured my cheese into like a plastic quart container or pint container, but it's hard to get out. Maybe greasing it would work, but I haven't done that. Today, I'm gonna put this into, no, I'm not. What am I gonna do? Yes, I am. I bet this would work well. Little loaf pans. Let's try this. I'm gonna do an experiment because I'm always testing. I'm gonna do one with parchment paper, the other with plastic wrap. And you know, if you're gonna be all concerned about having no wrinkles and a very smooth block of cheese, this will not be satisfactory for you, but I don't care. Wrinkles are part of life, see? Those are good things. Wrinkles are fine. They're not a problem. If you have silicone molds, those would also work really well. So this is the cheese, it's all runny. Actually, this would all fit in one. What should I do? I'm gonna do parchment because I don't like using plastic. Let's see if this works. Yep, this will all fit in here. She's already setting up. It's a little bit swooshy, but it's setting up. I'm gonna cover this up so it doesn't get like hard. This just goes in the fridge and it's gonna set for a couple hours and then we'll dump it out. To be fair, if you have inferior cheese that you're not going to serve to people, you don't have to go to the trouble of making American cheese. You can just put it into mac and cheese or grilled cheese sandwiches, quesadillas, wherever you melt cheese, and it will melt up and it will be fine and it will disguise itself. The benefit of doing American cheese is that it's already in that format, ready to just go wherever you want it to go. So we put it on top of our burgers. I add it to quiches, I add it to mac and cheese. When it comes right off the stove is when it's perfect to pour on the nachos or throw in a bunch of canned diced green chilies or sun-dried tomatoes or, you know, make some type of artichoke dip, spinach dip, whatever you want. And it can be fancy because you could be making this American cheese out of Gruyere or a really good Parm if you wanted to make a fancy melt. You don't have to make American cheese to use up your mediocre cheeses, but you can. There are other ways to make American cheese that call for gelatin. I've made both methods. This is the gelatin cheese and this is the Gavin cheese. They're made of the same cheese, but this one is a little yellower. I'm not sure why. So the Gavin cheese, smooth and creamy. It tastes a lot like Velveeta. This is the gelatin one. It's much softer. It doesn't quite have the same form. It's almost more of a cream cheese. It's gritty. It didn't quite melt all the way and emulsify, but the flavor is fine. It's just not as good. Maybe there's other recipes that work great, but the one I was following didn't cut it. This one is better and it's easier, so that's what I'm going with. Time to get the American cheese out and see if it's set up. I'm gonna take off the plastic. Peels right off. This is set. It's firm. Feels pretty solid. Donk. There we go. Here's a hunk of American cheese. Ta-da! Let's cut a slice. It's just cheese. Look. There's the outside. And then you just tear it. It's like that. So here's the inside. It's creamy, totally smooth. This has good flavors. I mean, there's heat from the pepper. It's not bland like American cheese, like I think of that. It's salty. It could even be a little bit saltier. It's just a splendid melting cheese. So should we make a grilled cheese sandwich and see how it turns out? Here's a piece of sourdough, and you always want to put a lot of cheese on if you're going to make a grilled cheese, because that's the whole point of it. Am I right? Yes, of course I'm right. This is my channel. I am as right as I want to be. Mayonnaise, always better than butter on grilled cheese. Getting all gooey in there and soft. It's hot. Getting brown. I think it's good enough. It's peppery and it has flavors, actual flavors. Anywhere you put Velveeta, anywhere you put American cheese, you got American cheese. Go for it.